guys, it's me, Linwood, and I just wanted to give you a few quick tips today on what to do for your hair and scalp if you are tender-headed. And I know some of you may think that some of these are rather basic tips, but I've come to find that even my most basic of tips, some people just don't know, and sometimes there'll be a quick little piece that you just may have needed. So first things first is always making sure that you are taking care of that hair properly in terms of keeping it trimmed and keeping it well conditioned. One of the number one reasons for tangling tends to be split ends, and so by keeping those split ends at bay by trimming regularly, you'll notice your hair will not tangle quite as often, which is especially beneficial if you are tender-headed. Also, when it comes down to your hair tangling, dry hair does tangle and break rather easily, and it actually causes split ends. So keeping that hair well moisturized by using quality products and deep conditioning quite often can actually help out in the process. The second thing would be making sure that if you're taking your hair down from braids, ponytails, even individual twists, whatever the case may be, you always want to make sure that you are thoroughly combing out or brushing out that hair before you put any water to it, especially if your hair is curly or kinky. The reasoning for why is this. What happens is basically your hair is supposed to shed about 100 strands a day. Now, if your hair is supposed to be shedding 100 strands a day and you've got it in a braided style up in a ponytail, that hair has not really been able to shed out like it's supposed to. So a lot of times it stays in the position it's in. So when you end up unbraiding it, you have however many days worth of hair that's supposed to be shedding out, and it needs to come out of there. If you are taking it directly to the shower and shampooing it, a lot of times those hairs will kind of turn opposite ways and things, and before you know it, that hair has matted up on you like nobody's business. For those of you with natural hair or with mixed children, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm sure you've had it happen a couple times. So I did want to kind of go through some of the basics with you. The first thing would be selecting a proper brush size or comb size just for basic detangling. Using something about this size here can be quite a bit beneficial for those who are tender-headed. Notice the spacing in those teeth. I don't know if you can see that real well, but if you'll notice the spacing in those teeth, it allows quite a bit of room in there, so that way you can easily be able to get that comb through the hair without having to worry about tugging quite a bit on that hair. And it allows you to detangle for mild tangling. But let's say you have somebody who is a bit more tangled up. A lot of people want to run to these vent brushes, but I'm going to tell you straight up, if you have somebody who's tender-headed, I would not recommend a vent brush like this. I would rather recommend a paddle brush like this. I don't know if you see the difference, it's more than the holes. But I'm going to turn these to the side so you can see what I'm talking about here. Now this one is the vent brush, and notice when I'm pushing on it, nothing is happening, it's rather rigid. Now on this one here, this is my paddle brush, when I'm pushing on it, if you'll notice there, it goes right in. It has quite a bit of give. Those bristles are very, very flexible, just like that. And so if you notice just how easily those bend like that, not much hair is going to get caught in there. You want to make sure it's a soft back paddle brush. Usually they have like a little hole in there so that way the air and stuff can easily get in and out. And the softer the back on these, typically the better. This one here is a friction-free brush, which is one of my favorite brushes by Cricut for salon use. And it's because it does have that backing on there, but it's still sturdy enough for even more coarse textures of hair. If you're someone who is extremely tender-headed, I would recommend getting a Denman brush like this one here. This is a Denman paddle brush, and I'll go ahead and open it up. This one is a large paddle brush of theirs. But this one here, if you can see it there, it has quite a few soft bristles in it, and I don't know if you can even see just by me pushing here how the whole thing begins to flex. It's quite a bit softer. The bristles are very, very movable, and while this is a little bit more of a pricey brush, it is a quality brush, especially if you deal quite a bit with tangling, and if you're excessively tender-headed, you have a very sensitive scalp. This is a good brush for you. It allows you to get through those tangles pretty easily and work your way on through there. Now let's talk about some of the basics of brushing through that hair. You always want to make sure that you're starting from the ends and working your way up. So if you start off just taking care of the little tangles down here like so, and then just gradually stop, work your way up some, try again. And it sometimes helps if you work in sections. So you may want to take, say, just this section of your hair here and section that portion out and start there and work your way on through it. Especially if you have excessively thick hair. Now, if you have thinner hair, you can get away with larger sections, but it's all based on your curl pattern, the thickness of your hair, and of course the sensitivity of your scalp. So that's pretty basic there in terms of that. But the other thing, remember I was telling you about moisture and conditioning. The other thing would be using a detangler or a quality leave-in conditioner. Let me turn this face to you. This one here is Pravana's Intense Therapy Moisture Leave-In Treatment. And so, if you'll notice there, it says the same thing on here, the Intense Therapy Leave-In Treatment. And the thing that I like about this one is it's great for quite a bit of stuff. If you'll notice, it's a different color here versus here. It does have some silicone in there. And you just kind of take it and shake it up before you use it, and it all becomes one color. And then you just spray it on there. It's very liquidy, and it does have a rather easy nozzle to use here. This is one of my favorite leave-in conditioners. I use it on nearly every client that comes through my door. And when it comes down to detangling the hair, I really think that the liquid leave-ins are a little bit easier for you to manage with rather than using a cream leave-in, because cream leave-ins have a tendency to kind of get stuck right where you put them. Whereas with this, you can just kind of mist it over the hair, get the combability that you need, and be able to work with that. This helps with balancing out the pH balance. It helps to balance your porosity, increase your moisture levels. It's great as a cutting and styling lotion, and it increases softness, shine, and combability. So it's got a few other purposes on there, which I cannot remember at the moment. They have like 10 different uses for this one here. And so this is a good one here. Now, don't get me wrong, cream leave-ins are quite a bit more moisturizing. And because they're more moisturizing, I do have an example of that for you also. I have a rather small bottle because it's sample size. But to me, if you're going to use a cream leave-in, use one in a spray like this one here. This is the Rusk Multi 12-in-1 Miracle Treatment. It's in their waitlist line. And Rusk has really been changing up quite a bit of their products lately. I did not used to be a huge fan of their product line, but they've been coming out with some really good stuff lately. And so this has been a pretty good leave-in treatment, especially for my clients that tangle really easily, because it's basically like a cream leave-in. It increases your moisture balance quite a bit, but it's a cream leave-in that goes on in a spray. So you can kind of see there, I don't know if you can see the consistency of it. It's a bit more creamy than a liquid. And so it just goes on in a spray. It's very, very moisturizing. And surprisingly enough, even though it's a cream leave-in, it does not weigh the hair down, which is part of why it's in the waitlist line. So I definitely would recommend using something like this leave-in here, or this one here. For those of you who are looking for something over the counter, you could use something like Infusium 23. It's not a bad leave-in at all, but do keep in mind that you get what you pay for. So if you're looking for salon quality, like one of these here, sometimes it's better to make a salon investment. But right about now, with some of the different things that are out there, and I understand everyone's on a budget, I always want to try to make sure to present you with options that are affordable at different price ranges, and that's why I try to show you different products in there. You can get these here from the salon. Of course, the rest, it does come in a larger size bottle. Like I said, this is a sample size. And then the Pravana, this is one of their larger bottles. It's their bonus size. It actually does come slightly smaller than this, but this stuff here is excellent. I love it. It's worth the investment, and a little bit goes a long way. So for all of my tender-headed people out there, I hope this helped you out, especially if you have a little person, because they can just be a pain. They can be a headache. One more thing before I go is finger detangling. A lot of times, if you have, say, a knot at the end of your hair, like let's say right here you've got a knot, and you're just not able to comb through it, and you don't really want to cut it or whatever. And so you can just kind of take and lightly take with your fingers and gradually pull out the strands until you just have a little bit left in your fingers. Usually you can get down to the knot that way without having to cause any type of discomfort to the person who's brushing or being brushed. Or also, if you hold the hair down close to the scalp and then brush through the rest of it. It makes it to where even if you're tugging on that hair a bit more, you're basically creating a stopping point here, versus going ahead and brushing and then feeling the tugging on your scalp. It's basically to where you are holding that hair tightly enough to where it's not going to cause any irritation to their scalp in there. And of course, if you are having a difficult time with getting it brushed out, I would say go ahead and lightly mist the hair. Don't soak it down, to get a little bit more slickness in there. And if you just feel as though you're overwhelmed, seek professional help and allow a licensed professional to help you detangle that hair, because a lot of times we have different tricks and things that we're able to use to get those tangles out while still allowing you to retain some length and condition and health to that hair. So I'm sorry, I intended for this video to be like 5 minutes long, but it turns out I had more information than I thought I did. So until next time, take care and God bless. And by the way, for anyone who is wondering about my tie, I do actually do tie tutorials on my other channel. So if you're interested in my tie or any other tie that you've seen me do or have a knot of on this channel, just check out my other channel on YouTube. It's youtube.com/whoseestthis, and I'll put the link in the description box below. And I have tutorials on there for yourself or for a loved one in your family, somebody who wears quite a few ties and just wants to try something different. So check that out. Until next time, you guys, take care. God bless. Bye.